The only word that's percolating in my simple little brain is humility, about which I have very little to say, except that it's not something that you practice, and it's not exactly something that you earn. It is a state of being. And it's a state of being because you can't find any ownership of your activity or action in the world, or your story, or your uh, sense of identity. There's just this quiet emptiness. And it's not anything to let go of. The letting go has happened. You're just kind of there. But I'll tell you what it feels like. Um, because I'm experiencing this more and more, and it's kind of surprising and a bit amazing. And I may have spoken of it 20 times before, but I'm not sure. It's the feeling of waking up when you're 4 years old and you wake up. And when I woke up, we didn't have television yet, didn't exist. We didn't have anything to turn on. My mother occasionally would have the radio on, but I just woke up, and I would wake up really happy and contented, and no plan, no agenda, no sense of things to do or that I needed to do. There was only a sense of, wow, I woke up, I'm awake. And I would sit in the bed and look at the room and smile and look out my window, and I would just feel like, huh, that's all it was. And that's happening more and more right now. I'm arriving at my 4-year-old self and glad to be that person. Uh, there was, of course, a very big ride in the world around me, and and it was a ride that could not have been anticipated or expected or planned on any level. In a way, it kind of arrived. Obviously, I made choices to do things as a child that were maybe predictive of a future. I started putting on plays when I was 6 or 7 in my basement. I would draw on my driveway these huge mazes that went all the way from the street all the way up to the garage, and all the neighborhood kids would come and play on the mazes, and we would walk and tag each other, and play was an enormous part of my day-to-day life, and it arose spontaneously. I can't even explain it. We had a railing around the porch that I lived on, and I would put on a towel around my neck and jump off like Superman. And I cannot tell you how much I love jumping off the porch. And I can't tell you that anything else in life since that moment has ever given me more joy than that. So striving to find whatever it is you're looking for in life, you're only going to get it to hand it over, to in a way give it away, or in many ways just to know the experience of it, to have this extraordinary journey through the world, whatever your journey may be, good or bad, positive, negative, and it will probably be a mix of all of the above. And what will take place is that you will experience, if you don't relate to it with ownership, you will experience great humility in what you've been shown and given. Even the worst of it, even the darkest of it, is a amazing awareness of the knowability and the unknowability of this life that we are in. And we will, at various times in this journey, think we understand it and we get it. We'll read enough books, we'll go to enough classes, we'll talk to enough people, and we'll form a structure of what this is, and then it becomes kind of a certainty. this is what life is. Got it. Got it down. And and then you live that life and you find that as you get older and older, it starts to break down in a way. It's not as locked in as you think it is. And the reinforcements that give you a sense of this is what it is will keep working very hard on you. But as you start to get quieter and quieter and listen to the birds singing and Blanche and I feeding the fish outside and, you know, just walking around at the block, I mean, it's like, oh, I lived a whole life, did all the stuff I did to feed fish and to watch birds. And in a funny way, it's a great payoff. It's absolutely surprisingly wonderful. And the idea of running off to see a show or a movie or out to dinner, just not part of what brings me joy. What brings me joy is sitting with my wife at the table, eating whatever we make. And now it's a we because I'm starting to cook. And I got to say, I'm not a great cook, but I like making something that we will be nurtured by. And I like doing it with Blanche. And it's like, who knew, a new avenue for me at, in my 80s. And I have to say, it's very humbling because I'm not really good at it. But that humility is like not a bad thing. It's like, aha, okay, learn and learn and learn and learn, and you're still learning. But the simple things that you're learning is how two birds fight for the same little hole on the bird feeder and watching them and going, what's their mindset? How did they find this kind of sense that I own it? It's mine. It's hard to know. And then they fly off to a tree, which is, I can't show it to you really, but it's right over here. And it's filled with these little, what are they, the little yellow ones, Blanche? What are they called? The little yellow birds? Chickadees? What are, huh? Finches.
Finch. No, Jonathan's and
Well, we'll figure it out. They're little yellow birds, but they are like leaves on the tree. They just go to the tree and they sit there waiting for their turn to dive and go into the bird feeder, which Blanche and I have to keep filled every other day because they eat so fast. But looking at a tree whose full leaves haven't come in yet, but the leaves are now yellow from these little, what I think are finches, birds, and it's so completing. It's so completing. If you had told me in my 30s, 40s, 50s that that would be a point of pleasure and joy and mellowness, I would not really have believed you. But I know many people who start to arrive at the place that Blanche and I are at who do not experience that, who are still trying to figure out the next restaurant they want to go to and the next vacation they want to go to, and all these things that are still going to give them and give them and feed them and feed them. And I am done being fed by all of that stuff. I am just now a witness and sitting still and feeling this 4-year-old mellowness in life. Now, it's not constant. The day goes on and there are periods of cloudiness and darkness and more light and sunlight. And it's like everything that goes on in life still continues to go on. And you cannot expect constants other than change. And you can't expect constants other than impermanence, which are all at the core of the human experience. But if you just go on the ride and you do this practice of letting go, opening up, witnessing, and not being the purveyor of, the owner of, and the person who becomes sort of special in the journey, you get to feel this exquisite kind of 4-year-old joy of just being. So if you think you have a bigger goal in mind, like buying a $14 million house or whatever it is, I get these websites that send me houses to look at, and I love houses. I love nice houses, but they're now, 37 million, 79 million. I mean, I go, You know, I don't know who it's for. And I don't feel like I have an agenda anymore to get to that place. I've always described, not always, but in the last 5 years, where I live is a Goldilocks space, meaning not too much, not too little, just right. And many of our lives become just right, but you have to allow just rightness to arrive.
Mm.
You have to find a place in yourself that goes, yeah, good. And if your mind is not letting you do that, if it's still saying there's something waiting for you in the future, well, first of all, I'll tell you the one thing waiting for you in the future is having to let go of everything. So if you haven't gotten that lesson down, then you're still thinking that it's going to be the next best meal you've ever eaten in your life, or the next best vacation, or the next best movie or television series. And I'm just going to say, okay, okay. But at some point, if what you're looking for in your spiritual practice, in this journey into opening and availability to the larger picture of the universe, it's not going to take getting, it's going to take letting go. And that's what Rudy taught, surrender. Let go of all of this stuff, because ultimately, if you don't, it will be wrenched away. And it's much easier and much softer to hand it away. Just give it over. Give it over. Say thank you. I'm grateful I tasted it. I'm grateful I tasted the sugar. I'm grateful I know what lemons taste like. I know what the world has to offer. It has an amazing variety of stuff that I love and stuff that I really don't like. And I've been able to taste and witness all of these things. And I've come to a place of going, that was great. Thank you. Now I'm going to watch the birds. And I know for some of you, that sounds like, oh, what a horrible thing. But I'm telling you, not horrible. Being 4 years old is not horrible. Waking up and picking up some crayons and some paper and drawing, or for me, I do that. I do photography. I go just walk around and take pictures, and I go, what an amazing thing to see the world. What an amazing thing to witness it and to have these journeys that we all are on, that are the 4-year-old journey. You don't have to make it the 50-year-old person that has to make this much money and get all this stuff. I mean, yes, you have to take care of business. Yes, you have to pay rent. Yes, you have to take care of whoever it is you're taking care of, including yourself. You have to do that, but it will become simpler and simpler and simpler. And all you can do at some point is wake up, sit in bed, and go, wow. And you just feel happy. You just feel happy for being, period. So many people are imagining achievement and accomplishment and attainment and all of these things as defining a life. And I will say that I have had, what they call achievement and attainment in my life. But this is what's really important. And I know you may not believe me, but the real joy of my life is letting go of all that. It's nice that I did it. It makes me feel like, okay, I did it, but now I let go. Now, sometimes you don't get to achieve and accomplish the dreamscape of your life. That's often probably the case. And so you walk around with the tension of wanting it still or feeling like a failure because you didn't do it. I can only tell you that the letting go of what you got is the same thing as letting go of what you didn't get. It's just the letting go. And the whole practice that we are all involved in right now is really let it go, which is a muscle, and it just goes like that. It's gone. You let go. Letting go is the great aspect of the meditative life that we're all living. It's a muscle that Rudy called the muscle of letting go as opposed to holding on. And you've heard me say all this a million times, but I can only tell you, if you practice it and if you do it, you will come to a point where the 4-year-old in you will sit around and go, wow, wow. And you'll go, thank you. You'll really go, thank you, because you've tasted it. You've tasted the bitter and the sweet. You've tasted what you were given, whatever that may be. It will never be everything. I don't care how accomplished you are. There will always be people more accomplished. I don't care how unaccomplished you are. It won't matter, because it all goes away. You know, it all just falls away. And if you are sitting here going, but, as you're listening to me talk, you've got to let go of those buts. You go, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter that you have something to eat and hopefully a warm blanket to cover you. Those two things matter. You have to find a way to do that. Whatever way you can, try to find a blanket that will cover you and some food to eat. You know, I don't know what to say. I don't think any of you at this point are homeless. You know, you can cry out to me if you are. My heart will break, and I'll try to help you on some level. But you need to be able to find a way to just live a very simple, very quiet life with this blanket around you. And that's one of the other things I've been experiencing in recent time. It's a warm blanket, and it's just covering me. And I forgot what they felt like, but it's like the universe taking care of you. It's just taking care of you. But you also have to know it's taking care of you at the same time that it's taking you out of here. And so what starts to happen is what I call the death of a thousand cuts, little tiny things. If you guys were in my bed during the 8 hours that I'm supposed to be sleeping, and you saw all the different things that start to happen that keep you from sleeping well. I mean, the pain I mean, it goes on and on. It's just amazing. And you have every right to be angry and cursing at all of it. But I'm not doing that, at least not now. I'm just going, this is what they do. This is the journey out. They make it hard, you know? Dale and I were talking yesterday, and she was saying that her morning ritual is to work for like 5 minutes before she gets out of bed, just to stretch her body enough to get out of the bed. I totally get that. That's, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get, uh, what can I say, less painful. It gets more painful, more stressful, more difficult. But the amazement that you are still in the game, that you're still here, still witnessing, and deeply humbled by, I was going to say humiliated, but it's humbled by the reality of being, opens you up to something so mellow and so cozy and so delicious and so 4 year old that you will be totally grateful to have had this journey and to still be here having it. And you will be preparing yourself to become infinitely 4 years old. That's really what you will be, this incredible innocent with eyes open, nose smelling, wonder at everything, not sure what's coming, not worried about what's coming. Just go, oh, wow, every day. That's the spiritual journey. If you think it's into awakening and you have some larger vision of what the universe is, well, let me tell you, that can happen. And for some of us who are here right now, it has happened, but it but there's nobody who can hold that because that person goes away. So having that is fine. Having a total understanding of infinite time and space and what life is and all the the deep, extraordinary crevices of being alive in the world, all of that can be known to you. But in the end, every bit of it goes, and your little 4 year old self will go, oh, and it's all amazing. It's just all amazing. And you will not have any ownership of it. So there won't be anybody around to feel like, hey, I got it and I can give you my wisdom. Not like that. The wisdom comes through you being 4 years old and being able to enunciate that there is something wonderful, wonderful in that experience at the end of your life as well as at the beginning of your life. So I wish you all an endlessly beautiful journey to your 4 year old self. And if you think you're going to get more out of life than that, great. If you think you're going to be celebrated for that, great. But in the end, you're just going to be 4 and wake up in the morning and go, wow, and that's enough. Okay. Tony.
Not to make too fine a point of this, but you, as last I checked, are the only Oscar winner in the room. And there is a certain irony to as much as it's utterly centrally beautiful what you're saying. You did win an Oscar as one of many accomplishments in your life. And I don't want to make too much of that, but I also feel like you're maybe, forgive me, making too little of it. And I'm reminded of two other things. One is in your beautiful book, you talk about fighting for credit for a certain thing. That fighting, for some of us who aren't 81, is still, I think, a good part of our lives.
I agree. I agree. Accomplishment, fighting, getting what you want, doing what you need to do, listening to the larger directives of your life. I mean, great. One of the great things about Rudy was, as he said, your material life is your spiritual life. And I absolutely listened to the voices and did what I was told and got a great deal out of that. Some people learn that in the last hours of their life or the last days of their life or the last months or whatever. And it's too late to go out and win an Oscar. It's too late to go out and fight for something, but it's not too late to be 4 years old again and to find yourself arriving at a place in yourself that is as joyous for me as it would be for anybody else. I don't have a higher stake in it because I had an Oscar. The Oscar is like, it's a was. It's all part of a was. And it's fine. I'm not unhappy that I did that. There's a real
Was for you, not for me.
Well,
your Oscar is not a was for me.
No, it's not. But there are lots of wases. There are lots of wases, and you let them go.
Yeah.
You don't hold on to it. I'm not going to heaven with with my Oscar in hand. They couldn't care less. I got the Oscar because I did what I was told. I wrote the movie that I was told to write. They dictated it in a certain sense. I have no ownership of it, but I was a beneficiary because I listened to the directive, I listened to the voice, I listened to the quote unquote inspiration of life, and it gave me what I needed. The teaching in all of this is listen and do what you're told. Pretty simple. That's really what it is.
You sure that there's not a Hollywood heaven where the Oscar is like the key to the gate?
I'm
I think St. Peter's gonna admire you.
I'm positive.
I think St. Peter's gonna admire that.
The biggest problem for me with my Oscar is which of my children get it.
Right, that's a problem.
I don't know what to do.
At least you only have two children.
I thought I needed to win another Oscar, so they each had one. That which is absurd. Or they can once a year get together and own it, and then that way it brings them together, which is a joy to me.
I'll collaborate on it as
Good.
an artist.
That's great.
I'll do the artwork where I managed to get it sliced in half.
Oh,
And there you go.
There you go. Anyway, sorry guys, I don't mean to talk mostly about Oscar. I think there is something to be said about having a life that you enjoyed and loved, but not everybody gets that. Most people have a imperfect, what feels like an imperfect life, an imperfect journey, but it's not. That's what I mean. The thing that I think needs to be communicated is that most lives are sloppy, incomplete, not totally delivering what we had hoped that they might, and maybe delivering some things we really didn't want to have happen. Here's the key to all of that, and this is really important. You let go of what you had, you let go of what you didn't have. You need to do that. It's the muscle of letting go, let go, be free of that stuff, be humble, because it will make you humble. And a failed life and a successful life are both lives you let go of. That's all I can tell you. You need to let go of both. And if you are dealing with a successful life you can't let go of because I was this and I was that and I had this and I had that, that's problematic. And if you're holding on to I never got what I should have and I would have been like this and I could have done that, that's a problem. And both cases, you just need to go, amen, let it go. And if you let it go like that, you will find the meditative spiritual freedom that was there in the background all along. That's really what we're trying to find in this meditative practice. And it's a practice because it doesn't happen without effort. You don't build up a really beautiful body if you don't go to the gym every day. And if you stop going to the gym, you're going to lose that beautiful body and live with what was and not what is. So everybody has their issues and their dramas and their difficulties. All I can tell you is at the end, you're 4 years old. And it's like, okay, ride your way back to that. Find your way back to that.
Bruce.
Yes.
Hey, Bruce. Mark.
Mark, hi.
I love I love the 4-year-old simplicity of existing. And recently we were thrown into the life of having a 14-week-old puppy. And as you know, that's like living with a 4-year-old or less. The joys, the simplicities of existing and watching that existence, it is so beautiful to watch. And I'm just wondering about the idea of being simple, living the 4-year-old life. And would you say that's because of you were so in the moment that it made it simple? And then the complexities of life can do its thing, but the depth of being so present that it simplifies things.
I think it's an arrival at that it came out of a lifetime of practice, a lifetime of, again, doing what I was told. The universe was a real guide for me. And again, not to sell my book, but it's all about the risk taking that I went through, where I chose to do the thing that wasn't easy over and over in order to serve something greater. And then I married a woman who supported that, and in many ways pushed the envelope. So those things made it possible in a way. I I I don't know that everybody arrives at 4 years old, and I don't want to make it sound like an achievement. It's really a gentler journey than people imagine. But what it really takes is, I think, the practice of finally going, okay, to this world, and waking up, understanding your body is no longer the body of a 20-year-old. You're now the body of, in my case, an 81-year-old. It's disintegrating in its own way, but the feeling is not of a 4-year-old body. It's a 4-year-old being waking up to the wonder of the experience of being human. And that think I don't think it comes just from earned effort during the course of achievement in life. It just comes from being alive. And if you allow yourself to have a puppy at this point in your life, if you allow yourself to wake up to the newness of the possibilities of every minute of your life, you will arrive at this moment at the end that is like so simple, so not exactly earned, but just available. And you go, thank you. And it's really, really beautiful. I don't like watching people angry and struggling and suffering at the end of their life, but I'm very aware of that as part of how many people live. All I'm trying to do is offer an alternative that Rudy offered me, which was do the work. Sit down, do the work. And do the work is let go all over and over. Listen to the yourself, if you want to call it yourself. I would call it not your mind, not your ego, but your true self, and do what you're told. It's astounding. And it does bring you a kind of peace, or a kind of 4-year-old, like, oh, got a day in front of me. And that's all I can tell you. I, you know, I don't want to I don't want to lock this into being 4 years old, because it's just a metaphor for something else that's part of our process. And if you're thinking of it as a specific, and I've got to be 4 years old again, no, that's not really what I'm saying. There is a attitudinal shift and a physiological, biological shift that makes you smaller, weaker, less available, less in command of your existence, but joyful to be here. That's an incredible thing, and it's nice if you get it. And I would encourage people to keep practicing the still pointedness that allows them to get to this place in themselves that's already and always has been this 4-year-old self.
Bruce, I have a question.
Mhm.
I'm kind of, I guess, similar to Tony in like a more of a coming up phase, like because I'm doing the body work, so I'm having to actually get in better shape to be able to do it, and like do different things to roll out my joints and to recover. So there is a certain like progression of like I'm very novice and I'm wanting to get better, and I think that kind of like I guess maybe mastery is the bad word, but like like high levels of competency and that kind of thing. And I'm recognizing the need to do both. I wonder if you have any insight into how to have the cultivation, the 4-year-old being, but also be very I guess engaging in the game without losing the motivation? It's always the same question I ask, I suppose.
Yeah, no, but it's actually, but it's, there's nothing more to do than what you're doing. And, I, mastery for me was a part of my growing up. I had to master certain things. I had to master writing, but I also had, I had, doctors who said, you got to walk, or you got to swim, or you have to, do upper body stuff. And I just listened to what I was told and did it. And it wasn't so I could walk around having ownership of it. I could just feel the need to be that person who was physically capable. And
Mm.
so many versions of that in life, and I had to work I had to work all the time. I had to make money to support my family. I had to do all the things we all have to do. And I can't say that the 4-year-old self was real, real witness to that. I mean, I think in some ways there was a kind of going back every day when I would sit and meditate that I would feel something. I didn't label it 4-year-old, but it was like a simple being that was there. And I really felt, loved and supported by the universe. I think what you're doing right now is absolutely exactly right for what your age is, for who you are, for everything about you. You're doing all the right things. Don't get proud and don't get, puffed up about it. Just do it because it's right. It's right. And Rudy used to push me like mad to do the right things. I mean, I probably have told this, but when I first told him how my dad, when I was young, would ask me to mow the lawn, I said, I don't want to mow the lawn. You do it, Dad. And I did that. And Rudy said, Bruce, you're going to mow the lawn for me. And he made me do all this work. And he said, this is clearing the deck from what you didn't do. It's giving you substance and it's making it right. It's making right out of something that was in a way wrong. And I was very grateful for that. So we have a lot of opportunity in our material life to make things right, to redeem ourselves, to get redemption. This is really important. But in the final analysis, the person who does that is still going to go back to a 4-year-old. So it's a great ride. It's a powerful journey. I loved every moment of my life so far, not wood, I guess. But it's been a lucky journey, primarily because I had someone like Rudy who said, mow the lawn because you didn't do it for your dad. So I got redemption. I went in and did hard work. Rudy asked me to write a musical for him, the book to a musical. He had written the songs, and I wrote a whole musical, my first thing I ever wrote, and it turned out he didn't care if it ever got made. He just wanted me to get to work writing, and it's what I did. He was a great teacher. And it didn't have to get made because what it was about in the end was a teacher thinking, how can I make you move toward your own fulfillment? I'm not as insightful as Rudy. I don't have the brilliance that he had, and he had so many people he helped on that level. But all I can tell you is I know what you're doing, and we've talked, and keep it going. It's the right thing. It's absolutely the right thing.
Who's that person you were just talking to?
Zach.
Zach.
Yeah. Is that okay? Is that enough of an answer?
Yeah, I think so. I had a second part, but maybe we can talk on the phone.
Okay, I'm happy to. Anybody else? Are you all bored to death? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I know this just goes on and on, but I want you to have your moment.